welcome to HRD TV. My name's Jess Bell and I'm the news editor for HRD Australia. Today I'm joined by Dominique Powrie, Managing Consultant at DDI Australia, which has been awarded HRD's 5-Star Learning and Development Award. Firstly, a huge congratulations, Dominique, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, really good to be here.
Now, we know the workplace has changed vastly as a result of the global pandemic over the past 12 to 15 months, and the idea of hybrid working has become more prominent. In that shift to hybrid working, what are some of the vital skills that leaders need to make hybrid working successful in the long term?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And there's certainly a lot of topics and issues surrounding hybrid working today. Things like the workspaces of the future, change management, employee engagement, retention, well-being, and so forth. I think certainly if we cast our minds back 18 months, leaders have got really good at leading through the pandemic, and they do have hybrid teams. But the themes that are really underpinning this topic haven't changed, and that is employees really love and want and expect flexibility. In fact, there's some research that shows that 40% of employees think they would leave their organisation if flexible work wasn't offered. So flexibility is really here to stay, pandemic or not, I think. But from our lived experience and from our research, and we've read a lot and we've surveyed a lot, we really believe that leaders and managers aren't actually having to learn new skills to lead well during these times and lead hybrid teams. In fact, they're evergreen skills. So I think HR has a really critical role to play in helping leaders understand what are the strengths, what are the skills that they need to amplify to be successful. And there's some best practices I'm happy to share with you. And of course, we've got lots of blogs and research that we can share with your listeners if they want to read into these things further. But really what HR leaders are helping leaders understand is it's really important to build trust and inclusion with your teams. It's really important to communicate well and often. Also, there has to be a focus on accountability and driving results, as well as creating the team culture that will allow everybody to thrive, feel included. And ultimately, I think one of the most important and emerging best practices or areas leaders can focus on is helping employees avoid burnout. And empathy, of course, is the key to doing that.
And we've seen so much remote working and offering virtual alternatives, especially during lockdowns and when restrictions were in place. What are some of the pros and cons of those sort of classroom versus virtual learning? And how do you think technology has played a part in that?
Yes, yeah. Oh, gee, that's funny. That's a really great question. We had, I've been with DDI 6 years, and when I first started facilitating learning and development, the very, very strong preference was for face-to-face in-person learning, and all our modules, all our programs had been written with virtual modality as available, but we were doing so little of it. Fast forward to the first news of the coronavirus and our new ways of working, and employers had a choice. Some did actually choose to pause their learning and development initiatives, but those who wanted to convert to provide the support their learners and leaders needed learned very quickly, as did we, that virtual classroom, virtual learning is absolutely a valid and viable means of helping people learn and develop in the workplace. So it's here, and we've learned a lot in the last 18 months. The technology, thank goodness we have the technology we have. I think it has vastly improved the offerings available. We're platform agnostic. Organisations will variously use Zoom or MS Teams or WebEx or whatever they want to use. And those technology platforms have evolved and developed in the last 18 months as well, which has given us opportunities as curators of content, as instructional designers, as facilitators to leverage some really cool tools, features and functionality to make virtual classroom learning really, really engaging. But of course, it's not just virtual classroom. There's a whole plethora of really excellent online tools as well that you can incorporate in virtual classrooms. So I think in summary, the modality has always been here. We have had an accelerated rate of usage. We've learned a lot along the way, and technology has certainly enabled us to do this well. And in fact, we've been doing evaluation studies for years, and a lot of our data suggests that the veracity and efficacy of virtual classroom learning is the same, and in some cases better than in face-to-face or in-person learning.
And tell me about blended learning and what that term means. And do you think, what are the benefits of blending those two sides together?
Yeah, so blended learning is, as it sounds, it's a blend of approaches. It can be a blend of either traditional classroom-based learning, virtual classroom-based learning, flipped classroom-based learning, and the incorporation of all these exciting innovations in the learning and development space. We've got access now to really great games, simulations, online tools, e-learning modules, micro courses. And so blended learning takes the best of those modalities and tools available to us. And we think about ultimately, who are our learners? What do they need to learn? Where are they? How do they need to acquire the learning? And how will they be able to apply the learning? And so a blended learning approach is really thinking through these considerations and using the strengths and being aware of the limitations of each of these modalities and tools, bringing it together so that the learners get exactly what they need when they need it.
As you say, the technology has become so much more sophisticated, and it's just so impressive to hear how quickly it's accelerating. I mean, what do you think is the future of learning and development? Is there anything that sort of stands out that you think, yeah, I can really see that being super important in the future?
Well, one of the things that we've noticed is we have leaders and individuals who really love the blended learning or virtual learning, and we have leaders or learners who don't. And so we have noticed that there are some critical things to pay attention to in order to set up the learning environment to be really optimized or to maximize the benefits. We really need organisations to think about their learning culture. Now, how do they encourage learning? And I think that's something that organisations should be thinking about for the future. If they haven't got a learning culture, how will they create that? To create a learning culture, you really need your managers to be on board with their supporting learning for their people. And that can mean making sure that quite simple things like when learning is scheduled makes sense, that people aren't overwhelmed with work. They're not in the front line managing crises. They've got the space to learn. It can be making sure that the technology is enabled and the communications are clear, that materials are accessible. So I think the learning of the future is really going to be taking what we are learning and iterating and making sure that you're creating the right environment, you're providing the right resources, tools and assets to your team at the time that they need them, and that it's really relevant. We've heard from people that they do miss classroom-based training. There will be some return, I think, when those opportunities present to classroom-based learning, mainly because we're social beasts. We love to interact with each other. We love the networking. We love the storytelling. But actually, you can still create those opportunities for peer learning, for shared experiences, for really practical exercises and activities in a virtual environment, in a blended learning journey. So I'm really excited about how learning has evolved so quickly, how it's accelerated with the wonderful innovations in technology in the last 18 months, and how it will continue to evolve because these things that we're learning are immediately applied. So yeah, it's I think watch this space. Somebody told me the other day that we'll be getting sense and other sensory indications in the classroom. I'd love to see that, but that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, truly 5D experience. I can definitely imagine that.
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing some of your insight, and congratulations on your award.
Thank you so much. We really are very honoured, and thank you to everybody who voted for us.
And to everyone watching, thank you very much. And we'll see you next time. This has been HRD TV.